And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well.
Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Want to be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Spots is taken care of right off the top. Bull, Bitcoin, and easy DNS. The media is feeding the slop. It doesn't matter what topics discussed. Quality entertainment and information you can trust.
That's being planned or at least discussed. You know, we're not going to allow
quality entertainment and information you can trust. Send the guy some value, boost them with some sats. Bitcoin is a scarcity asset, I mean it's just a fact. Geopolitical, national, down to the local cloud.
Friends and enemies, welcome to yet another edition of the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. I'm Len the Legend, and I'm going to be joined by a couple of gentlemen in just a few minutes. We'll be talking about a bunch of things like BIP-444, like the op return increase, like Bitcoin Core version 30, knots, whole bunch more, and we'll dive deep and get some interesting discussion by a couple of folks that might have differing opinions. But I'm not here to have them argue, because arguing is going to pump up the price of Bitcoin. That is not my goal today. I still have to reach my stacking goal for 2025, so I'm trying to suppress the price as much as possible. But with that being said, I do want to talk about the sponsors of today's show. So we have sponsor number one, Easy DNS. They have been with us for the longest period of time. Mark and team, they are fantastic. I would suggest if you're looking to do any sort of web hosting, email hosting, domain name registrations, these are the guys you want to talk to. They have been in business since 1998. They understand the business. They understand what it is to provide good customer service. We have our own website with them, and so they helped us usher into becoming a good web citizen by having our own web. It's what is it? CanadianBitcoiners.com. We don't use it all that much, but still, nonetheless, do love Mark and his team. Mark has been in the show a number of times. If you listen to him once, you'll understand why we like Easy DNS and we like him. Check them out. If you use our promo code CBP Media, the first purchase you do, 50% will be taken off the initial purchase. 50%. What does this mean? Load up the cart. Get a bunch of domain names, start migrating your email server over, or set up a new email server over there, set up a new web hosting, a lot of different things. Is when you do that, you're going to save 50% off your initial buy. So do that. CBP Media is the code. Second sponsor for today's show is Bull Bitcoin. What can I say about Bull? That's the place where I buy my Bitcoin, and Joy does as well. It's a place I would sell my Bitcoin if I were to sell it. I'm not going to. I'm going to trade my Bitcoin eventually, but either way, I'm not going to get into that right now. Bull Bitcoin, what could you do with them? You could buy on-chain, you could buy Lightning when fees are getting a little higher. Still, the fees are rather low, so I would suggest do your on-chain buys with them. You could pay your bills. You could send money over to them, or to a friend using them. So say, for example, you owe somebody some cash, and you want to do a pseudo e-transfer, you could use that. So you could have Bull Bitcoin facilitate the payment to your friend. You have the Bitcoin sent to them, and they do the e-transfer to your friend's account. You could pay bills, as I mentioned. A lot of different things you could do with them. They're expanding. They're taking over the world. United States, when is this going to happen? We want them to enter the United States. They're in Western Europe. They're in Argentina. They're in Costa Rica, Mexico, Canada, of course. If you haven't yet opened an account, what are you waiting for? Our code is below if you sign up with our account for perpetuity. Like the rest of the time, your fees are going to be a little bit less when you do your buys and sells with them. So check them out. We love them, and you should too. Last but not least, we have 256 Heat. Check them out, 256heat.com. You're going to be heating up an area of your home. It's going to be like garden shed, could be your garage, could be a cool part of your house. Do this in such a way that you're going to be heating your home and earning sats at the same time. He sells these little devices, or actually they're not that small, but still they're small enough that you could just plug into your wall, into your outlet, and you're going to be mining away, earning Bitcoin KYC free if you do it properly. So check them out. And remember, if you're going to be going to buy some of the units over there, make sure you let them know that we sent you. Joey and I each have one of his S19s that he prepped for us. They're quiet, they're slick, and they earn sats. Maybe mine's doing a solo pool. I don't want to say too much, but either way, you could earn sats every day, and we could be done through Lightning. If you use like Ocean's Pool, so lots of different options. Check them out, 256heat.com. And we're just waiting for the two gentlemen to come on board, hop on in. But until then, I just want to make note that we have the Canadian budget came out yesterday, and the budget was interesting. We'll be talking about that more in depth on Monday. Some interesting notes on there. As one particular thing, I just want to make note. This is a freebie. Did you know that until yesterday, well, until this budget passes, that they were charging a premium, a tax, if you're buying a vessel for the water that's over $250,000, or a airplane for over $250,000. So they were essentially charging rich people to buy these yachts or private jets. And I think it was a 10% tax. It's gone as of the budget. They took that off. The tax is now gone. Imagine that. Does your tax go down with respect to your paying for filling up your car or paying for your house or whatever? Probably not. So what does this mean? The rich get richer, and we just pay more as a result of it. Either way, that's a preview for what's happening next week. Let's get the gentlemen in. We got Dee and Praveen coming in. Here is Dee and here is Praveen. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey,
what's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
Can you guys hear me? Just
Yeah.
checking.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How do I sound?
Absolutely perfect, brother.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, so good to have you guys on. Thanks for taking the time to come in and discuss with me. This is going to be an interesting discussion. We're not arguing, right? Because we're not trying to pump the price of Bitcoin like I mentioned. I still have to reach my stacking goal of 2025, so let's keep this simple. But just to prep the audience, Praveen, I'll just give you a little bit of kudos here. You're behind a Cove wallet that is just recently been released for Android, and previously it was on iOS. So
and not yet. Android's coming soon, but not yet.
So we'll be coming soon. You've been on the show a few times, and you've discussed. Like, I can't really say much more about you aside from that. And D, association with CoinKite, you've been on the show a number of times. You actually filled in for Joey one time. So
Hey,
a couple of good friends of the show. Well, that's true. Yeah, I fucking forgot. Sorry. Actually, I'm gonna leave. Let you guys do this for the show. But no, the reason why I wanted to bring you guys in here today is because there's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes between you guys and a few others, and I think it's probably best if we discuss it here out into the open and try to come up with some points that maybe the other person can see, and maybe even the audience, we could help educate them, or maybe they can help educate us at the same time. But there's a lot going on. I think the first thing I want to touch on, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Praveen, because I think this is you like this topic to talk about, is the spam, but specifically the op return increase. Now, Core 30 decided to increase the op return to 100,000 kilobytes. Previous to that was 83 bytes. I know that you believe that. Well, I don't want to say. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What are your thoughts on this increase? And maybe D could punch in afterwards. But I want to hear what you think about this increase, good or bad for Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I think this is terrible. And I don't want to talk about this, to be honest. I rather
what?
No,
you were the one who invited me on the show.
Not right now. I just mean in general. It's not something I want to be talking about. I have other things to do. I'm not an influencer. It's just like mostly because I see a lot of misconceptions on Twitter, and it annoys me to reply the same damn thing over and over again. So I was hoping if we come in here and fix some of those misconceptions, the next time someone makes a dumbass comment, I can just
link the video.
Link the video. And then I've seen most of the misconceptions, but I'm sure D will come up with his own dumbass ones. So it'll be no, I promise to be nice.
It's fine. Do whatever you want.
Okay. So my argument is, okay, first of all, I don't like spam. Spam includes inscriptions and blah blah blah, all that shit, right? But I hated it, and I thought the right place to deal with it was the filters. I would not be in favor of doing a soft fork just to stop the spam, but I think the op return increase is a existential threat. I don't think it's a nothing burger. I think it's a real threat. I think it was terrible, and yeah, and I am for soft fork that gets that basically returns the state to its original state before Core 30 was released, which is op returns that are capped. So I mean, I have a whole list of misconceptions that I'd like to talk about. I can start there, and then you can go, or we can just have a conversation. Up to you guys.
Yeah, hold on. I got to crack open my little thing here first. Just
Nice.
gotta-
Oh, he's prepping. Okay, this is good. Praveen, do
man.
you have something? You got some beer or something?
Sponsored.
No,
Sponsored ad? Just kidding.
maybe I should get some wine.
Yeah, like get liquored up, buddy. D, do you want to? You have any rebuttal to that? Do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a huge. I don't know what specifically we're talking about. Where there's the BIP-444, or the op return stuff, or spam in general, or legal moral stuff that we can get into as well.
Let's talk about the spam. Let's talk about the abuse of syntax. Potentially, that's the way somebody described it to me. When somebody is using the op return as a way to circumvent and add more crap to the Bitcoin block that shouldn't.
So that's one of the misconceptions, right? Like op return. So before op return was increased, people were spamming using inscriptions, which was a hack around Bitcoin, right? They were misusing the Bitcoin script to get stuff into Bitcoin, which is terrible, which is annoying. Spam is annoying. But the problem with op return is that it's not a hack around anything, right? Bitcoin Core, it basically says, okay, here's this 100 kilobyte field. You can use this for data, right? So that has a lot of implications, including moral and legal and technical. So because it's an intended field, because it's not hacked around, right? It's easier to get stuff in there. It's easier to get stuff out with just like regular tools, just using Bitcoin CLI. It's on your disk contiguously. It's not split up in any encoding way, right? So there's a lot of implications to it. This is a misconception I see a lot of people making, because me and other people that like the soft fork was against spam for so long, right? People even people in our chat like AA, he was just talking about this. He basically
no
thinks,
doxing, bro.
Okay, AA, that could be anyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, they think, oh, Praveen has always been against spam, and now he's gone crazy. He hates spam so much he wants a fucking soft fork, right? Which is not the case at all. I'm very conservative. I don't want soft forks. Like even the ones I like, I'm like, oh, I don't know. We'll see. Wait, right? But this is enough of a threat that I want it, and I think it's still conservative because yes, it is a soft fork, but it's returning the chain to what it was before Core 30.
Could you talk about the concern, like what the big issue is, what you see? Yeah.
Okay, so basically the issue is, like I said, but with inscriptions, it was a hack around Bitcoin. You could spam, but it was not the intended mechanism, right? Like Casey, whatever his name, invented a way to hack Bitcoin, let's say, right? To get arbitrary data onto the chain, right?
Yeah, and 520 byte packages.
Yeah. But with op return, this op return is just there for data. That is its purpose, right? But before Core 30, that could be only 83 bytes. So what you can put in 83 bytes is very limited. Yeah, yes, it's data, but you can't put an image, right? So it's not arbitrary data, it's arbitrary text data. It's usually designed for hashes. That's what that size is for, right? So you can do some text, but the most useful thing you could do is hashes. You can't put a real image, maybe a tiny audio file, but nothing, right? But the size of the data determines what kind of data you can put in there. 100 kilobytes, increasing to 100 kilobytes, and you now made it a field to put images, to put videos, to put music, whatever, right? So the main threat that I've been concerned about is the CSAM threat, because, and I get people don't like talking about it. It's not a comfortable topic, but if it's uncomfortable to talk about, imagine how much worse it would be if CSAM got on the chain in an op return, right? So I keep harping back to this is how it was designed, because that has legal implications, right? Now you're using software the way it was designed to be used. It's designed to be used for data. So standardized, exactly. So it's hard to say what the law thinks right now, because there's not obviously a law written, right? So you got to see how will a jury see this, right? And prosecutors, that's how they think too. How will a jury see this? If they think that, because it's standardized, they can make a better argument, they're much more likely to take someone to court, right? Or there's the other aspect of what about if there's someone that's already a target of government of the state, right? Whatever state. Now they have trumped up charges they can hit you with. All they have to do is come and take your node, and if there's CSAM in there, now not only is it define the government, whatever, but now you're also a pedophile. So there's lots of room for this, and the other one is like just morally speaking. This one, I guess you could say, is the least strong argument because there is an element of subjectivity to this. But to me, right, using op return is very different than like an inscription, right? For inscriptions, you need to know where to look. You need to know because you can put data in the chain different ways, right? Hack around it in different ways. You need to know how it's encoded. Was it an inscription? Was it something else? You need to know what block, and then you need like some software to put it together, right? And it's not just contiguously in your hard drive, right? So to me, that's different than having an op return. That's just an image unchanged on your hard drive, right?
You still have to look for it.
Hold on.
Like it.
No, hold on 1 second.
Yep,
To
yep.
me, that's different enough that it would make me strongly consider turning off my node, right? And
Sure.
the reason that Bitcoin is because I can verify my own transactions. So if I can't verify my own transactions, because to do so would mean to have CSAM at my home in my node, then I'm thinking, what's the point of Bitcoin? Like I can't verify my own transactions. Why am I going to own something I can't verify? Right? That's the whole reason I got into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the CSAM thing, we can talk about the contiguous part of it or not. I think that stuff is already on your node. You made the argument if it's not split up, so therefore it is different. I don't see a difference in that, whether it's contiguous or split up into 520 bytes. You can
What do you mean?
already
Okay. I don't think you can say there isn't a difference because there's clearly a difference. You can say
Sure,
the difference is not big enough for me, right?
Correct.
But
Yes.
one way to think about it right now, to get it, with the new op returns, to get an image out of the blockchain, you only need to know two things, right? Which block is it in, right?
Mhm.
And like that's basically it. Which block is it in? Because you can do a one RPC call and basically say, in this block, skip this many bytes. So you can say maybe you need to know where in the block, but you could also just go byte by byte, right?
Mhm.
So it's, if you think about it as pieces of data you need to know to get this image out, right? This also has legal implications, by the way, because I can get into that because the easier it is to get, the more likely you're basically, there's case precedent for that, right? If it's easy to get with standard tools, that means you were like, you could reasonably have had access to it, versus if you needed specialized tools, right? But anyway, but with inscriptions, you need to know which block, you need to know which encoding it was, right? Was it inscriptions? Was it something else? And where in the block, like which transaction, whatever. Like you need at least three pieces of data, and you need some kind of software to put it together, right? It might be you basically need to write a small script to do so.
And same would be for op return, correct?
No, that's not true, because with op return, you do one REST call, right? One call, right,
Yes.
to the standard Bitcoin CLI, right? To the standard Bitcoin, nothing else. You don't need OR scanner. You don't need anything. You just one call to the, if you're running a node, you have Bitcoin on there, Bitcoin CLI, right? One call, and you say how many bytes to skip. That's it, right? There's a difference. I'll let the viewers
There's
decide
yes, you're
how
right. I
big the
appreciate you
difference is.
explaining the differences. I don't think that difference really matters in the grand scheme of moral or legality. Even Luke believes that contiguousness does not matter. If Core BIP-30 was standardized the inscription vulnerability, making that a standard way to store data, it would just be as harmful. The only reason why contiguous ever came up was because there was an automated system on cloud hosting that would detect CSAM or malware in a contiguous form and immediately kill your server. You could teach the system that Bitcoin nodes aren't scam or malware. It's not a legal or moral problem. It is a technical one. The actual problem here is that the fact that now a standard for data storage, it's the correct way to interpret the blockchain as CSAM or malware. You could interpret anything as CSAM or malware depending on what you're using. But the fact that it's standard is what he's making the argument for. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? Just curious thoughts. This was yesterday. This was a few days ago on a podcast.
Yeah. So for Luke, the biggest argument is not the contiguousness, right?
Mhm.
For him, it is the intent, and I agree that the intent is probably the bigger argument, but I would not discount the contiguousness of it
Sure.
because not because it's contiguous, because you need less specialized software to get it, right? So there's been cases where someone wasn't charged because it was like on a cleared hard drive, so the only way for him to get it would have been to run the specialized like software that can get like, basically disk recovery tools, right?
This is an actual legal case. This went through the courts, and the courts decided that there's a precedence here that's been set.
Yeah. There's precedence for access, right? Access level. So I mean I can find these cases later, but yes, there's precedence, right? So the contiguousness means easier access, which could very well have legal implications because it has in the past. Again, I don't know if the difference is big enough, but again,
Mhm.
it's there, which means okay, you're more likely to like them take you to court if you're already being targeted. And then also you got to think, what does the jury think? The jury will look at the precedence that's been set, right?
Yeah, and I guess it depends on which country you live in too, right? It's all a matter of your jurisdiction.
Sure, but I
I-
lived in the United States, and I want to run a node, and a lot of Bitcoiners are in Western countries. I'm sure if you live in fucking Tunisia, you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, everybody I'm talking to right now is probably in the United States, Canada, or UK or somewhere. So where all of this applies to.
Mhm. Yeah, obviously in 2014 they did the 83 byte standardness, and I think a lot of these arguments were also being made whether it was 83 bytes cut into 100 transactions or sorry outputs or one big contiguous one. I just don't think that precedent is valid because it's been going on for 10 years. I don't like.
What do you mean the
if someone,
precedent is not valid? That explain that. What
yeah,
do you mean by that?
So
I'm saying there is precedent for this type. There has been cases where they haven't been charged because you needed specialized software to get it out.
yeah,
And
I
there's
mean,
been cases where it's been in the cache and they didn't get charged because they didn't know it was there, right?
Mhm.
So I think people like to think that the law is like completely illogical or whatever, but at the end of the day, if it goes to the court, you're going to be judged by a jury of your peers, right? And yeah, sure that some of them will be completely irrational, but a lot of this stuff does have rationality to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if the state was after you and wanted to put illegal content on your computer, they wouldn't need Bitcoin to do that. They could also just rent a bunch of hash and mine it in there themselves, and then now everyone is now become illegal to run a node. There's multiple ways to put that information in, whether that's standard or not.
Okay, that's not a good this software would completely get rid of that, right? But that's not a good argument because what we're talking about is, did this op return make it riskier to run a node? Not is there was there some way else to get you if you were
I'd say no, because op
return
return was available since 2014 and you could throw 1 megabyte in. Whether that's standard or not, a miner could mine that, and everyone would still have that on their node.
Okay, so this is another misconception that I was going to talk about. So thanks for bringing it up. Yes,
Sure.
Yes. Before this, it was not standard, so you could get a miner to mine it, right? But mining's super centralized, and the only way for a miner to mine it is basically you'd have to go directly to the miner. Now, where's the incentive of that miner, right? They have no plausible deniability because everybody knows the only way you mined a block that has more than 83 kilobytes is if you, out of band, somehow got that particular transaction and decided to put it in. So Slipstream, for example, they don't just put in any. They don't put anything. They don't just put anything in, right?
That's not true.
Oh, they don't have any content moderation?
They have terms and services, but I've heard from the horse's mouth that if you submit something for a high enough fee rate, they would mine it.
Aren't they OFAC compliant, or are they not?
I don't know.
Okay, there's no fucking way that if somebody sent child porn to fucking Mara, a U.S. company, that they would put it in their fucking block. Okay, don't come at me with this bullshit. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I would just disagree with you there.
They would have no fucking deniability that before Core 30 because it was sent directly to them. It was then they decided to put it in, right? They would be retarded to do that, and I could see them definitely being legally liable that way. So there's definitely incentive for them to do some content moderation because because they're fucking liable, right? They have fucking shareholders. Like, no,
Yeah,
that is,
I
that
mean,
is bullshit.
It's
I just
tricky
wanna
because it's sorry, go ahead.
Just really quick, just want to say one thing that Marathon Digital is fully AML and OFAC compliant as of 2021. So take that information moving forward.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So they're OFAC compliant, but they're gonna put fucking child porn in.
No,
because you have
it's
it for
Dee's
the
turn, man.
horses-
Dee,
because-
I think that's a little
you have
different.
it for the horses because you have it for the horse's mouth. Yeah. Come at me with that bullshit.
Yeah, that's fine if we disagree. Totally fine. I think they would if the transaction fee was high enough, or another miner would for sure.
Okay. You know what? I'm not trying to convince you, but I think anybody watching can see that's a fucking retarded argument.
And again, like we were talking about, if a government wants to rent a bunch of hash rate, buy a bunch of ASICs, throw a bunch of petahash towards some miners.
Okay, do you know how many fucking
can do
steps that is?
Like,
How much money would that fucking attack cost? How much fucking money?
I don't think it matters about the money at that point for them. Their goal is to put something illegal on Bitcoin that you don't like.
Okay,
and
D, I'm gonna need better arguments. I'm gonna need better arguments because this is fucking retarded. So your thing is, Core 30 raising this is okay because the government could have bought a bunch of fucking hash miners and put this shit on everybody's node. Like that's your best argument right now?
No, because I think you can do direct miner submission. Libre Relay exists, as well as a miner could mine it themselves if they wanted.
We already went over direct miner. Okay.
Yeah, those three options exist today. Libre Relay is
how many miners are running Libre Relay?
Probably a couple dozen for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep, and that is enough to create to have a path to a miner to mine any non-standard transaction that you want.
Okay, and do you think if Core 30, the standard, didn't have op returns higher than 83, that those miners running Libre Relay would have more of a legal battle with their legal department to run Libre Relay, which would allow them to put any shit on there? Or yes?
I don't think so personally. No.
Okay, well.
So we can disagree. It's fine. It's all good. I know Len's laughing at it over here.
No, I like
Len, what do you think? Like, do any of
because
these
you can make these legal arguments, but no lawyer has come out and said this is illegal and that there's precedent for nodes being illegal for putting illicit content on the node.
Exactly. There's no fucking precedent. There's a lawyer is not a fucking a fortune teller. Okay, they can look at past cases and they can make up an opinion. But they don't know what's illegal or illegal because this is uncharted territory. Okay, so the question is, you have to look at it logically and see, hey, does this seem riskier than before or less risky? Right? Mm-hmm. Is this more likely to get taken to court and made a precedent of or not?
And I would argue not, because you can already stuff 4 megabytes worth of shit in the witness, and it doesn't matter if it's broken up into 520 bytes or not. It is still the same precedent. To a court.
No, it's not. That's a lie. I already went through the other cases. I told you it's not the same precedent because to get that out, you need specialized software, right? Because
you can't just click and look on your node. It's not how it works for op-return either.
You don't need to click, but you can do one freaking REST API, one call.
Yes, you need to do that. If you're not looking for it, it's not your problem. I'm not saying don't look for it if you want to do that.
Yeah, but that's not what the legal precedent said, right? There are cases I don't want to go in circles with you because I've already made the point about this.
Yeah,
but basically
we have no lawyers with us, so we can't decide either way who's right here. Sure, you can say that it is a greater risk. And
I'm not talking about lawyers. I'm telling you about previous cases.
That is totally fine. That has nothing to do with Bitcoin nodes.
Okay.
Now, I just wanted to throw something at Praveen, and let's go with the assumption, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, that there isn't already stuff like these pictures on our nodes. The discussion is, and I haven't checked it because morally, ethically, I don't want to check it, but they say that it's already there. Would you agree, Praveen, that, or at least say that it's plausible it's already there on our nodes?
I've I've heard that is possible, that's possible, but again, we would need to have like at least 3 pieces of information to know about this stuff, right? We would have to know which file or block it's in, how it was encoded, right? Was this before inscriptions or after inscriptions? And where in the block to look, right? So I think because of that, we can safely, legally, and morally say we don't know if there's stuff in our notes, right? But
let me take this a
that
different
completely changes after op return.
Let me take us a different direction. Say, for example, you have state secrets on your computer, something that would be truly detrimental to the government that you have it, and you could potentially sell it or give it to one of the enemies of the government we're talking about. The files in question are broken up into a few different files, and they're all encoded. Do you think that there's a legal obligation? Could the state still come after you in this case for holding on to this data, even though it's broken up and you have to somehow merge it together and it's encoded? Having this, would you think that there's maybe a case the government could have against you? Do you think they could sort of book at you?
It depends, right? Who put those state secrets there? If you were the one who put it there, right, that means you already had the tools to encode it, which means you already have the tools to decode it, right? And you already had the knowledge to do so, which is completely different than what we're talking about Bitcoin, right? But if the state secrets were in op return, then maybe you're more liable, right?
I don't know how that argument makes any sense.
D, I don't know, maybe you weren't paying attention, but we've already been through the 2 reasons why, right? Because knowledge plus tools, which is 2 things you
need
don't
to know
need.
the block to pull the op return out,
Okay,
and you need to
that's
look
one
in
piece.
your
That's
node. It's
one
not
piece.
there.
That's
It is
one
all
piece.
encoded. Everything on Bitcoin is encoded.
No, it's not. Okay, that's the other thing. I don't even know if this is I don't know if this is a great argument, but the images that are stored in your hard drive in op return, right? It is just the image. The only difference is there's other data in the same file surrounding it, right? So my shitty analogy is like it's like if you put a piece of shit into a sandbox, it's still a piece of shit. It's just surrounded by sand, right? But it's still the same piece of shit. It hasn't been changed at all. That is what op return is. Whereas inscriptions, you have to put it together to make that piece of shit.
You still have to put the op return together.
You don't have. There's nothing to put together, D. It's together. It's one contiguous thing. What are you putting together, motherfucker?
So we have this in place. What happens moving forward? What are the options for Bitcoiners to either support this or not support this?
Yeah, you're not forced. You're not forced to upgrade your node. Someone can update to V31, and if no one runs it, then nothing changes. You're not forced to do anything. So if you don't want this, then you can run knots. You can run different client. You can run a previous client of Core, V29 or older. I heard V29 has some has some bugs, so maybe don't run that one. But you have options. You don't have to go along with it. But
so the only option
these things are consensus valid. So again, these can be mined whether you like it or not. This is kind of similar to RBF when RBF happened back in the day when there's a lot of businesses that were building on ZeroConf and they didn't like RBF. And then there was 10+% of the nodes that were relating RBF, and it became standard because it doesn't matter what 85% of people care about as long as it's consensus valid. Those 10 to 15% can relay that transaction. Same with these greater op returns.
Yeah. So as D said, it is now it's consensus valid, and just because of the way Bitcoin is set up, like the defaults set the soft consensus. There's the hard consensus, right? But policy was basically soft consensus, and because and that's because Core has such a monopoly on it, right? So basically, whatever Core sets as policy goes. So if you look at all the previous transactions, that's the reason there's basically zero transactions with op returns bigger than 83, right?
Because everyone ran a filter that filtered anything greater than 83.
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. So now that Core has gone off the deep end and raised that limit, change. So this is the other misconception that like a lot of people on like D's side say, oh, changing policy is not change because it's consensus, right? They use
No,
they
it's
think
not a
like,
consensus change.
wait, no,
It's
no,
not a
hey,
consensus
I
change. Yeah.
didn't interrupt you. Let me go. So they try to be this technically speaking, the actually guy, right? It's not a consensus change, but that doesn't fucking matter, okay?
It does matter.
Shut up. In real terms, it is a change to Bitcoin, right? The soft policy, even though it was soft, might as well have been consensus because that's what the chain said. That's what the chain did, right? There was no fucking transactions above 83, right?
Libre, Mara, Slipstream, and direct miner submission
Okay,
of whatever sort.
we've already been
We're
through
back
this.
in that circle.
I'm trying
Those
to
things do exist. There's
I'm
1
trying to
megabyte upreturns
I'm
before
trying to
that.
talk to the adults here, please, D. Right. So because of that, now basically Core has effectively changed Bitcoin by changing policy because Core has such a monopoly policy. Their policy is how the chain is used. So that's why we need a soft fork to basically just undo the changes they did. Right. So it's not like a regular soft fork where we're adding new features because with new features always comes unknown unknowns and other risks, right? With this, we're just returning things to the way they were. It's a soft fork and everybody's like, oh, soft fork has changed. Technically true, but in real terms, it's the more conservative approach because you're undoing a bad change that Core unilaterally decided to make because they have the power.
Yeah, no, I don't see how a consensus change is less radical than a policy change. You as a node runner can change your data carrier to whatever you want. Libre Relay have been relaying greater than 83 byte op returns for a while now.
How many
Core
Libre
V30.
relays are there? How many Libre?
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer.
So and how many op returns over 83 did they get in without going directly to a miner? And
It's a
we've
great
already
question.
we've already been through this. The miner also has to run Libre Relay, which is not the standard software, which is not the standard client.
You can't stop them from not running it.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm not trying to stop anybody. And this is the other thing. They're like, oh, talking about legal risks is threatening people. It's not. I'm looking at this from a logical point of view. The miners running non-standard software that allows this would be putting themselves at greater risk. Now the standard software is upgraded. Now they have plausible deniability to say whatever. We're just running the standard software.
Most
we're not
miners
doing
have
special.
custom client software anyway when they run.
Okay, are they running? Okay, anyway, I think I've made my point.
Yeah, I just don't see the argument. it's totally fine, and if you want to make those arguments, totally fine. Those op returns can be made before V30, and if there is a motivated party, that will get in whether we like it or not because it is consensus valid. So you can run knots. No, I interrupted you. Blah blah blah.
Okay,
right.
okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so you can run knots. You can decide your own policy. If there are spammers that come out with a different client that is consensus valid and they have 10% of the nodes, they can relay all those transactions whether you like it or not. And if you want to change consensus, that's going to be very tricky. And it is it's not just, oh yeah, well everyone's just gonna go along with it because clearly there's people that want these things and they want more than 83. And that's totally fine. They are still Bitcoiners. At the end of the day, they still run
really.
nodes.
They're shitcoiners.
That's totally fine. If you want to believe that, they are still node runners, whether they are Bitcoiners or not, I guess.
And they I'm banking on there being actual Bitcoiners more than shitcoiners. But anyway, yes, keep going.
Sure, yeah, go for it. And you can bet on that all you want. I just don't think consensus works that way, and it's going to be very tricky to change consensus. I'm for keeping Bitcoin the same, and you are ultimately wanting to change Bitcoin. Whether it is to change it back or not, it is still a consensus change versus a policy change. The reason for increasing it in the first place was because there were companies and L2s that needed more than 83 bytes. And if they didn't get more than 83 bytes, then they needed to put it in worse places like fake pub keys and whatnot, which we can obviously get into if you want. But I would prefer people to put that data in the trash can, right, in the op return, not bloating the UTXO set, rather than putting it in fake fake pub keys, bare multisig, whatever, and bloating the UTXO set every block, right?
Okay, so D actually hit another misconception that I was going to cover, so thank you, D.
Sure.
So remind me to get back to that. That's a fucking trash can analogy over here. But first of all,
we can disregard the trash can. It's fine.
but D likes to make say words like, it was consensus valid, so it was always possible.
That's
Okay,
correct.
but if
Yes.
you
up to
think
1
about
megabyte
it,
operaturn.
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Since 2014.
Okay, D, we got it. But if you're
Just
going
clarifying.
if you're going to think about this logically in real terms, not just like, oh, I know the technical definitions, but like we live in the real world. If
Yes, we
somebody
do.
wanted to, in the real world, get something objectionable into the Bitcoin blockchain,
They can absolutely do it.
D, shut the fuck up for a second. Into the Bitcoin blockchain before Core V30, right?
It was possible.
How would they have done it? How? What would it would have looked like going directly to one of these big miners who would not
Mara,
fucking take that?
Slipstream,
Yes.
Libra,
yes,
Relay.
yes.
Your
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't go this way.
Directly.
Oh my gosh! Like,
Direct.
yeah.
D, can I finish? Like I said, going
You asked
directly
me a question. I just answered it. I gave you 3 examples of how they could get it in,
Okay,
regardless
those
of
are-
what you run on your.
Those are
post
all
and your
going
node.
directly to a miner, right? They have
Sure.
no incentive to allow this kind of shit onto the chain because they would be legally liable. They would not have done it.
That
So
is
they did-
hearsay,
so-
and you have no proof of
So
that.
really, D, you gonna let me fucking finish? So realistically speaking, before Core V30, there was no way to get this shit on chain. And now there
I
is.
don't agree.
Okay, I get it. Now shut up. And in terms of changing, yeah, I guess you could call it a change, but I want to keep Bitcoin the same as it was. When was this released? Like a month ago? Like let's say 2 months ago, to the beginning of Bitcoin. So yeah, I
There's
want
been
to,
no consensus change
I want
since
to.
Taproot.
Okay, again, it's the same argument, D. You're talking about technicals. I'm talking about the real world. Okay. Yes, there was no consensus
I argue
change.
technicals because I don't care about
The real world? Okay,
the
good.
legal ramifications. 'cause
It's
I
not
don't
the
think
legal
those are valid.
ramification. It's the real world. In the real world,
You can keep saying
I
that all
don't
you
care
want.
what the consensus said. The blockchain says there was no fucking transactions with over 83 bytes. Okay, there's one or two, but it was
That's not true. We can
something
give
that was
plenty
used.
of examples.
Okay, a handful. Okay, D.
Probably more than 10.
I need you to understand this. Okay, I know you have issues with understanding freaking hypotheticals and generalizations, but generally fucking speaking, there was none. Okay. Now
There was actually some.
Okay. Do you know what the word generally means? You absolute fucking idiot.
Is this a debate, or are you just gonna yell at me?
Hey, just let him go in and once you're talking, make sure that you got it. The floor is
fine.
yours.
Whatever.
Let him
Go
run
ahead.
with it.
Go ahead.
Generally, D, I'm using the word generally on purpose. Okay, it has a meaning.
Okay.
Anyway, as for the trash can, I don't think that's a great I don't think that's a great excuse at all. Like, so these spammers and scammers, if you give them a new trash can, there's no incentive for them to use this trash can because above 100 whatever bytes, it's actually
180,
cheaper for them to
160.
use inscriptions. So
Yep.
these guys love talking about incentives a lot. So they'll probably just use incentives. Sorry, probably just use inscriptions. What it does do is give a brand new bucket to stuff shit into for brand new shitcoiners to come in and be like, oh, we're the operaturn inscriptions. They won't care about spending the extra money because it'll be a marketing opportunity, right?
I'd encourage them to do that. Yeah.
You're not reducing the amount of total spam. You're just increasing it because
I don't
the
think
people
you're-
using inscriptions will still use it. And then you're just creating a whole new set of shit coiners that'll come to use the operaturn specifically. So that D's a little argument just holds no water.
Yeah, there's no limit aside from the block size before V30. Anything above 160 bytes or something around there, it is cheaper to put it in the witness, and they will probably keep doing that. But if we can encourage people, at least like these L2s and things that are going to be using those transactions a lot, if we can, if they're 100 bytes and we can convince them to put it in the operaturn instead, they aren't increasing the UTXO bloat. And it is a more safe area or a better area to put it in than witness or fake pub keys. So would you prefer them to put it in worse places, or would you prefer to put it in a place where they can prune it? Like, what's your thoughts there?
That's a fake hypothetical. I'm not going to answer that because there's
So what's
no,
wrong with that? Just talk to me.
Because there's no evidence showing that these people will pay more to be good citizens of Bitcoin. If they were a good citizen of Bitcoin,
Up to 160, it's more efficient to put it in the upturn.
They would use it as money and not be shitcoiners. There's just gonna be a new set of shitcoiners that come in specifically to use this op return increase. That's all that's gonna happen.
Now, in terms of
that's fine.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so, no, it's all good. I just don't agree with that sentiment. I think putting it in the upturn is better than putting it in other places for sure. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can just bloat the UTXO set and let them do that. But I don't want them to do that, and I also don't want to change consensus. So I'm gonna change my policy to data carrier up to 100 kilobytes. And if you don't like that, you can run different policies. I think we can all run different policies, different clients, and be in not in unison, but in consensus. Like you don't have to run the same as me, and I don't have to run the same as you. But once you start talking about consensus forks, then yeah, there's definitely some concerns and risks there for sure.
Okay, so let's get to that because. So do you also leave your car door open at night because then they won't break your windows if somebody comes and breaks in?
No, I don't believe a car door is the same as a Bitcoin node.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. You can use analogies like trash cans. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, I said let's disregard the trash can one because you're right. Analogies are really bad and they don't usually work with Bitcoin nodes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I already made my point. You have no evidence showing that these fucking shitcoiners are going to come in and do the right thing and use the not bloat the UTXO set because you gave them a new trash can. But
I don't think you gave them a new trash can. It's the exact same trash can that has existed since 2014.
Okay. I'm not okay. I'm not. Yes, guy. I like your line.
I'm not a yes guy either. We just disagree on certain things.
You've said your line like 10 times now with the exact same line, but we've already been to it. I'm not going to get back to it.
Same thing could be said about your points.
I just wanted to bring this to a different direction. And I hear the term soft fork being thrown out quite a bit. And perhaps I'm going to throw it over to you, D, because this thought of it, or this discussion of a soft fork seems to be the answer potentially to solving some of the problems. But I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on a potential soft fork? Why would there be one in place? And what is your stance on a soft fork?
Yeah, a soft fork in general, or BIP-444. Which one are we kind of talking about?
BIP-444. That's the one in particularly that.
I'm definitely not a fan of that one. Just because there is, thankfully, they have removed the reactive activation as of like yesterday, meaning that if something illegal gets into Bitcoin tomorrow, I guess they would not do a reactive soft fork. I don't know if what their thought process is behind that. It may have just been kind of lowering the fear mongering type of deal, and they want to have a more standard process of upgrading rather than just reactive. Whether that means that now that illegal content between now and then is fine, but after that is not fine, is kind of weird. But yeah, I don't agree with it because it does limit a lot of things that are rules in Bitcoin that are valid today. And I don't think restricting those is a good thing. It could potentially lock coins. Potentially, I don't know if that's true or not. That's been tossed around. I know Genome has been on your space talking about potential lock coins, which I obviously would not be in favor of, depending on whoever's coins. It could be scammers' coins. I don't give a shit. I don't think you should lock anyone's coins because they are consensus valid and they should be able to spend those. We've had ordinals and runes and blah 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 since for 2.5 years. Sorry, not runes. We've had ordinals for 2.5 years, and this BIP is kind of being pushed along with the op return restriction, which is interesting because 2.5 years ago we can kind of talk about it even in our chats. I was like, if you want this stuff not to be on chain, you're going to have to fork. And people are finally coming to that realization that they actually do have to enforce things at the consensus level and not through policy, because if there's a economically motivated actor, they will put anything into Bitcoin if they have an incentive to do it. Mm-hmm. So I don't really agree with that BIP-444. I don't think it's effective. I think people will just find other ways to store arbitrary data into Bitcoin, they'll just obfuscate it more. Sure, it won't be standard. It won't be, oh yeah, put your arbitrary data here, but it will potentially hurt Bitcoin more by bloating the UTXO set and throwing it in places that that's just more harmful. I don't think that's good. And yeah, the trade-offs just don't make sense to me. But I'm willing to hear what Praveen has to say first. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I think Dee's conflating things again. He wants to pretend that, the people figured out that filters weren't enough, so now we're wanting to fork because of spam, right? If that's the case, why didn't we people?
Yeah, for sure. And why isn't it just about Opportune?
D, I'm gonna need to talk. Okay, I didn't say a single word.
Okay.
So he wants to pretend that basically.
Well, when you say things like I want to pretend
wait
stuff,
till the fucking end.
Yeah. Well, don't accuse me of shit then. Just say what you want to say and keep my name out of your mouth and don't say, "Oh, I pretend this." No, I'm just saying what I think, man.
I just have to say, everybody has a smile on their face.
Like,
listening to this and thinking, "Oh, these guys are going at each other's throats."
Dee's being irrational. Right. It's like, well, just say your point and we will debate it, man. Like, don't be assuming what I'm, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Motherfucker, I'm not assuming. I'm just re-saying what the fuck you just
said. No, you're like,
you're
a fucking idiot.
All right. Let's get back to
Dee's a fucking idiot and everything he just said was false.
All right.
Back to the South.
What the fuck do you think a debate is? If I didn't think what you said was false, we would agree.
It's a discussion, Praveen. Just say what you have to say.
Okay.
Jesus.
What I have to say is I disagree with Dee's freaking painting of the picture. He wants to say that we want a soft fork because spam is really bad and we waited this long because we were stupid and just realized that soft fork is the only way to do it. That's not true. Yes, most of the people that are for this fork and are against the op return are also against spam, right? That's true, but that doesn't mean you're conflating two different things, right? So the spam and the op,
by the way.
Yes, I know. The spam and the op returns are two different things in my eyes. And I can't speak for everybody because it's not like a one united group versus another united group. It's Bitcoin is made up of all individual actors, right? So in my eyes, this BIP was proposed right after the op return limit was raised. There's a reason for that, right? It's not because of spam. It's because of the legal, moral, and ethical risks we just talked about of having an intended place put data on, right? That was not, in all intents and purposes, there before Core 30. That's why it's there. So BIP-444, yes, I agree, does more things than just reducing the op return. I guess their thinking is if we're going to do a fork, we might as well fix some of this other stuff that's broken in Bitcoin, right? And when it comes to the locking up of coins, it's mostly bullshit. And all these are in like crazy, ridiculous, like tap leafs that basically devs put money into after this BIP was released to say, hey, look, guys, there's money locked up. There's I'd bet that there's no actual people doing that. This is just devs. But it doesn't matter. I agree. Even if it's just devs fucking around,
cool.
We don't
agree on that one.
We don't need to lock their coins, but that's already been addressed, right? That's already been addressed.
When?
With the latest changes in the BIP. But again, my main concern. So, would you agree to a soft fork that did nothing but limit the op returns back to 83 bytes? So you're not doing anything else. You're just going back to what it was before. Yeah, sorry, but I think Bitcoin all caps is saying, yeah, the new draft.
That's
right?
Good. Yeah.
So it's and that's the other thing. BIP-444 is a BIP, but like it's there for discussion. People are giving feedback. They're changing it, right? Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So like, let's not pretend like this is set in stone and like the only soft fork is like this or nothing, right? 100%. So D, I am curious what you think about this. Would you agree to a soft fork that did nothing but reduce the op return limit?
Yeah, I would not. No, because there are L2s that want to prove states and they want to put more than 83 bytes, and I would prefer them to put it in the op return for 100 bytes or whatever it is that they need, rather than bare multisig.
So is your stance that you see no possible legal, moral, ethical risk of an increased op return, or even if you do, that is lower than your hypothetical idea that these shitcoiners will decide to use op return instead.
Yeah, I think that same argument was made in 2014, and I don't think it's valid today to bring up the same legal and moral arguments.
What was the op return limit in 2014?
Yeah, they set it to 83, but before that, there was no limit actually.
Okay, so how could the same argument have been brought up in 2014 when the limit was 83 bytes? How is it the same one? Or are you conflating two different things again?
No, because there are multiple ways to put things into blocks, and if there
Okay,
is
so
a
it's not
motivated
the
actor,
same.
they
So
can
again,
put it
it's
in
not the
whether
same
you like it
because
or not.
we've
and
already
that is-
been through this. There's multiple ways that include encoding, and it's not the same way as op return, right? The
No,
op
I'm saying
return
no.
is
We've talked
designed for
about it.
data. We've talked about this, so don't lie. Okay, this
I'm
has
not
not
lying.
been covered.
Don't
This has
assume
not
that.
been.
Don't
This
say that I'm
has not
lying.
been
'Cause I'm
covered.
not.
You're trying to make it sound like, oh, this has already been argued for op returns. It
Yes,
has not.
and since 2014.
Now, guys, let's look at it through a different lens, and I'm wondering if there could be a middle ground here. What if there is a proposal, or maybe Core adopts their next client version to reduce it from 100,000 kilobytes to something like 160 bytes? Is that something? Is that a middle ground that achieves what D wants, but also achieves what Praveen wants? I'm curious, D, would this be something that you'd be in favor of? Something that Core would be reducing that number from 100 kilobytes?
D, hold on.
Sure.
Can you were also, I think you also were talking about a soft fork that Portland HodlDee was talking about, right?
Yeah, it was transaction output can't be more than 520 bytes. So similar to what Witness is right now, because they chop it up into 520 bytes. So it really wouldn't matter. I think for the core dev side, I'm not one. This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to lie. I'm not trying to mislead people. Any of that. I just think that they prefer to just get this over with almost. They don't want to increase it to 160 and then say, oh well, another L2 needs 320 at some point, and so now we have to increase it again.
This is this is the argument for the policy,
argument again.
Right?
So
this is the argument for the policy, not the software, right?
This is what Len was talking about. Why doesn't their consensus be 160?
No, but yeah,
just something like
no. To be clear, Len, are you talking about why not do a soft fork that makes it 160, or are you talking about why did Core not put the policy to
Core
change? Trying to find a middle ground.
Yeah, their mempool policy to something that would be rather than 100 kilobytes.
Yeah.
Just something like 100 bytes or 150 bytes. Say just something that's closer to what it was to before, 83 bytes. But then it would potentially allow for L2s to take advantage of this increased op return, but at the same time, it doesn't allow for too much stuffing of garbage within that.
Yeah. Also, just to be clear, like we say L2 like as if it's like another Lightning, right? The only people that want this is fucking Shitria. They're a shitcoin, right? Their stated goal is to turn Bitcoin into Ethereum, is to bring the EVM to Bitcoin, right? So these are not legitimate L2. This is not Lightning, but better. This is not ARC. These are shitcoiners that want to shitcoin on Bitcoin.
It does not make Bitcoin turn complete like Ethereum, just FYI.
Okay, but
so it's not Ethereum. It's
they want to bring the EV. Yes, they want to bring.
They would like
EVM,
to bring smart contracts with better functionality to Bitcoin. Yes.
Len, to answer your question, I think I'm not trying to force my perfect solution through, right? I just want a solution to this problem. So I have no fucking power, but if I did, I would definitely be open to soft fork discussions. That okay, fine. Maybe it's not 83. Maybe it's 160, right? But it's limited at the consensus level somehow. Yeah, and then the other way I can see this soft fork getting in is like a lot of people want covenants, right? So maybe there's an opportunity to make an alliance with the covenant people. Like, hey, let's do covenants plus a limit on op return. Either way, like I just want to be able to run my own node. I don't want this shit on Bitcoin. That's my goal, right? And then if we can reduce some of the spam, like that's a bonus for me.
Yeah, I think devs are want Bitcoin to be programmable money. Bitcoin is money, and these things to put data in like the op return continues to push forward that functionality of programmable money. So while fees are low, and people are not using the L1, yeah, there'll be a bunch of spam. But if these L2s catch on, or people actually start using Bitcoin as money, then they get priced out. I think fees are the ultimate filter here. I'm not for a consensus to change the op return down to 160. I think it's kind of already been done. The deed is done here, and I don't think 1 megabyte op returns harm Bitcoin more than a 4 megabyte witness data blob. So
Okay,
it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't think that's illogical or irrational or lying. I just personally don't think that 1 megabyte worth of op return data is a big deal at all. I think we can already shove 4 megabytes in. So there is no additional risk aside from this legal thing that you want to talk about. I don't agree with that either. And at the end of the day, you're right. None of us really matter. We're not lawyers, and we run our own policies, our own nodes. So if you want to not relay more than 83 bytes, you just change your data carrier size, and I will increase mine if I want. I haven't yet. I'm running V29. As all caps has pointed out, I should probably upgrade because there are exploits or vulnerabilities. But that's kind of the whole argument.
Yeah, relay policy is great.
Yeah.
But if this shit is in blocks, it doesn't help. But I think we've been over this because 2D there is zero risk in this op return increase, which I obviously do not agree with, and I don't think I can convince D of it. I don't know why.
Which is not the goal of this conversation.
Yeah, but I'm curious, Len, what do you think about all this?
I think that Bitcoin Core just unlocked or opened a can of worms that shouldn't probably have been opened up to begin with. I don't know why they went. I'm sorry. I think I know why they went to this extent to open up the op return to 100 kilobytes. There seems to be some money, or there's some incentive here that padded their pocketbooks, and they're doing this. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but
Sure.
That's what I believe right now. But then also this knee-jerk reaction by this BIP-444 seems to be probably a little bit too much of a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm wondering, up until today, I'm not sure if this latest BIP-444 change puts to rest this potential hard fork / chain split to rest. But if that hasn't been put to rest, if there is going to be a hard fork or chain split as a result of this, I think the community as a whole is going to be worse off. But like Noam said last week, I'm going to have to just almost paraphrase him, but it's a good learning opportunity for everybody.
Yeah,
I'm not looking for an airdrop, by the way. I'm not motivated by an airdrop. I do agree that, yeah, of course, any change to Bitcoin, Praveen, there is a risk. I'm not saying there's zero risk. Why worry? Shut the fuck up. It's fine. That's why we're having this conversation. I obviously see it as a less of a risk than you. I'm also not promoting spam or saying that everything that Core does is correct. I'm just sharing my opinions and what I believe is true. I'm not trying to be I know obviously this is a debate and it's Core v knots and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we all run nodes, we all buy Bitcoin. I'm not saying, oh yeah, kumbaya, we're all on the same team either. We may just differ on a few things. Of course, there's risk with everything. The contiguous thing is a little bit, I think, of a stretch for me, but it's not for you. And if you want to keep fighting that battle, that's totally fine. I just don't agree with changing consensus right now. I don't
see the question at the bottom, D, just before you hand it off to Praveen. Do you want to just quickly?
Yeah, that's actually kind of what I was addressing. I'm not saying Core is right in everything that they do. Again, it's not Core v knots. Everyone runs their node a little different. You can set your data carrier to whatever you want. Even in V30, you can lower it down to 83 bytes if you really want. So. Yeah, everything comes with risks. I think we do agree on some things, even though you call me an idiot and call me a liar all the time.
Hey, no, not me.
No, not you, Praveen.
Yeah, I know.
Well, don't lie if you don't want me to call you a liar.
I don't think I'm lying. I don't think I'm promoting spam by saying 1 megabyte op return is okay to me. I just don't see the risks as you do. But yes, of course, everything comes with trade-offs, risks. It could be a legal thing. I just don't see it as like I think this thing has been really blown up, and I don't think it is as big of a problem as people are making it out to be. And you know that's just my opinion. You know, you both can totally disagree. It's totally fine.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I'm not looking
so-
for chain split or airdrop or anything like. I'm not motivated by that. I just
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is most of the arguments I've heard against a soft fork is the risk of a soft fork, not against this particular soft fork. Other than like BIP-444 in its current state. But let's debate a hypothetical soft fork that limits it to, let's say, let's go crazy. Let's say 400, right? Or 300, whatever. Limits op returns to 400 or 160,
Sure.
and does nothing else, right? So I haven't heard a lot of arguments against why that would be technically bad. The arguments have been it could cause a chain split, so the forking itself could be bad, right? But if there's consensus, then it won't be bad, right? Basically,
Can you expand on that?
if hold on, yeah, if basically this all comes down to how big of a risk do you think this op return, that's the first time Bitcoin has been designed for arbitrary data that can hold enough for an image, videos, whatever, that's stored contiguously, it's easy to get. How big of a risk do you think that is? Like, if you think that's not any different than inscriptions, right?
Mhm.
Like D, then you're not gonna care. But if you think it is a risk, and depending on how big of a risk you think it is, then if you think it's a huge risk like I do, then I would be willing to risk a chain split, right? And we can get into some reasons why, like, this soft fork has a better chance, why it has some structural advantages over the previous chain, like when it comes to like a chain split situation, like you wouldn't need 51% of the hash per se. But Len, I guess I'm more curious about what Len thinks, because like I have a very good idea what D thinks, and like we're not going to come to the middle anywhere.
Mhm.
Len, what do you think? Do you I guess you've heard from us, like, well, what do you think? Do you see this as a risk?
Certainly, there could potentially be, the way I'm looking at it, there could potentially be a legal risk here, especially if you're dealing with OFAC miners, that they would obviously not want to include certain things into a block. But then what happens if you have a group of people that want to have it in there and they go to any miner that's not OFAC compliant and get it put in there? And then what happens? I'm wondering if this would potentially lead to a chain split, because you just have two different ideas, one that wants to have shit
Yeah.
rubbed out of it, but then from what I gathered, they're not trying to do any sort of reorg. So I it's hard for me to say, because this BIP-444 thing is evolving pretty fast. And
No, let's not talk about the fork for a second, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about what do you think, like, the risk of having these large op returns? Do you believe there's a risk? Would you consider turning off your node if something like this was mined, right? Do you think there's a legal risk to you or to miners or to people in general? Whatever?
Certainly, I could say that people are going to question if they're going to want to run a node, and that in itself is a risk. Somebody should not shouldn't have any self-doubt. Should I run it, either for a moral, ethical, or legal right to run it? They should just run it just because, fuck, this is the only way to verify a transaction that you have. So if there's a seed of doubt that's been placed, I think this is problematic, and I'm not sure what's the best course of action to resolve it.
So hold on. So and I agree with that, and we haven't even got to like the reputational risk, right? Okay, people already call Bitcoiners like terrorists, money for terrorists, and all that shit. Now imagine if this shit gets on there, like
It's already on there.
A huge. Len, you know what I mean by get on there, right? In this
Put it
format.
in an op return instead of SegWit.
Yeah.
Or
Okay,
witness. Yeah.
D, we don't need to keep going back to that because we've already discussed it. Okay, I'm trying
but
to
you're
get.
You're pawning it off like it's truth, and I don't agree with it, and I'm just like sitting here like, yeah, sure, man, yeah, it's like
Let's just hypothetically agree it's there.
Yeah,
Sure.
we've established that op return is different than inscriptions, right? So
we have not.
So that's my question to Len. My question is not just is this bad. Do you think the op return is an increased risk over inscriptions? That's already in the question. That's already in the question.
Look, what is Bitcoin? How I believe the majority of people that have Bitcoin, they believe it is a token, a coin, whatever, that could be exchanged peer-to-peer, permissionless. That's really what Bitcoin is. It's the exchanging of money, the exchanging of value for something. And it's with this, you're using Bitcoin in a way that it's almost like storing something, like you mentioned, either a file or a video or a song or where the fuck. And it's kind of steering away from it being money into being a Filecoin type system.
Yep.
That's the way I'm looking. I don't
yeah.
want it to be a inefficient
Yeah.
database. I'd rather be more efficient money.
Yeah, and Opportune is its core saying, okay, we are now a file database, basically.
I don't
Distributed
think that
database.
is a valid fact. You can be objective.
Okay,
subjective,
D,
but
what else is Opportune used for other than data storage on Bitcoin? Is it used as input?
scale
Is
to
it...
8 billion people. Yes, it can
So
be
these
used
these
for
answers.
me?
money
Sorry,
as
no,
well.
I'm
It doesn't
saying...
just have to be for files.
Okay,
It can be
on
for
Bitcoin,
proofs, for ZK rollups and other things. Like, it is the issue is that the issue is
stated goal of Opportune is for
hold on.
arbitrary data.
Nope.
Arbitrary data can include your
Yes.
shitcoiners, ZKs, but
Yes.
it's for arbitrary data. It's the only place
That is
in
correct.
Bitcoin
Lightning
that
uses
is
arbitrary data too. Are we
that is
gonna
for
just ban
arbitrary
Lightning?
data.
Yes, correct.
Again, you don't need to have a image or videos worth of fucking data for Lightning to work. Lightning already works before Core V30, does it not?
Yes, they put
Sorry,
stuff in the
but
witness.
I'm still talking to Len here. Okay, I just want to.
Well, I'm on this call too. Hi.
Yeah, but you haven't really added anything of significance.
Oh, he
so I'm
has.
just talking
So
to
come
Len.
on.
Yeah, come on, man. Like,
I'm
don't be an
joking,
asshole. Like,
I'm joking. Come on.
no, you're not. No, you're totally not. You're gonna
That's-
riff.
come
You're
on.
gonna fucking ream on me in the chat later and be like, "Well, this is a fucking waste of time." Like, what the fuck?
No. It's not a waste of time. But you just are not open to your mind being changed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Len. So the reason I bring this up is like it's all about how big you think this risk is, right? Because for the people that think like basically it could either have the ability to kill Bitcoin if not changed, or at least for them kill Bitcoin in that, like, if I'm not going to run a node, what's the point of Bitcoin, right? To them, that is going to be a higher risk than a possible chain split, right? And a chain split could be bad, but you're probably not going to have two coins. We can get into that as well if we have time. But basically, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you think this is a risk, right? I don't think this BIP is rushing anything, because if you do believe it's a risk, like, this could get into a block at any time, right? So I think it's good to be prepared for this to happen, because right now it's just all hypotheticals. Nobody cares, right? All the OGs like MVK and Odell, their way of dealing with this is basically blah blah blah. Nothing has hurt Bitcoin before. It's not going to hurt anything.
I don't think that's true,
right?
though.
Anyway, but if this does happen, it gets real fast, and then people are gonna have to, like, decide where they go from here. So at that point, yeah, like, I think that was the point of why, like, the reactive thing was there, because like someone's gonna react if that happens, right?
Somebody posed a really good question earlier on. I want to bring it up. What could core devs say to you to make you agree to run Core 30 and not NOTs? So I guess this is more directed towards you, Praveen, but maybe D could also answer this too.
I don't understand that question. Like, what could they say to make
like, what sort of action could they do to make you say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be more of a core supporter. I'm going to be more inclined to run core rather than to run NOTs.
Oh, okay, that's easy. They could say, oh yeah, sorry, we fucked up. Let's go back to the way things were.
And I guess, D,
Yeah,
you're fine with running core.
I think
and
All
NOTs.
Caps had a good point. It says, in Core's mind, it reduces harm to the UTXO set, which I was saying earlier, which apparently is not a logical argument, where you will shove data in worse places if you do not give them this option. And I don't think increasing it by 80 bytes is going to be sufficient long term. Maybe they need more storage. We have no idea what other L2s will need in the future, and I don't think restricting it is smart. And I think it's a good ground to dump your data, and it does not bloat the UTXO set. So they are being proactive in this sense, where companies like Citria need more than 83 bytes, and instead of putting it in fake pub keys, they are now by standard, they can put it in the op return, and they can put their 100 bytes in. So
I'm sorry, if you need more than
I don't think that's an illogical argument. I think that is a fair statement, and that is an argument for the core side. I don't think let's talk about that. Why is that a bad thing?
I'm
Like,
sorry,
of course there's risk.
if your shitty fucking sidechain needs 100 kilobytes to connect it to the main chain, your shitty fucking sidechain is shitty, and you should go redesign it and not fuck everything up. Okay, that's
So
not a good excuse.
hold on.
Because
Let's pause there for a second.
Shitcoiners need more things.
Let's pause there for a second. Okay.
And even then,
So,
they only need 160.
Let's pause.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do it anyway, okay, because this is Bitcoin, we can't tell people what to do. You can't tell them go shitcoin somewhere else. They're gonna come here. Okay. Would you prefer it to be in a place that can be printable, or would you prefer it to be in a place like fake pub keys? That is the question, really.
No,
So
I'm not gonna play this gotcha game, okay? Because
it's not a gotcha game. It's a valid question.
Because you can't guarantee me that's all that's gonna happen. There's not gonna be any other unintended consequences.
We're not talking about that.
And you can't tell me what's gonna happen if we kept things the same. You can't tell me that they're not just gonna fuck off. Anyway,
so hold on. I'm asking a question. Let's answer the question. Okay. So a company wants to put more than 83 bytes in an op return. Okay. Do you put it in fake pub keys, or do you allow them with policy, no consensus change, and increase that op return box so that they can put it in there?
I can tell them to go fuck off. They can put.
This is why you can't have a valid conversation. They won't answer the actual question.
They would put it in, and they would
whether you like it or not.
But anyway, let's get back to the risk, right? So whatever. It all depends. Do you think that risk that
the Gulag guy that says it was a workaround? Yeah, they had a workaround. It was called bloat the UTXO set. So you know what I mean? Like, they did not need this change, but because Core does not want to bloat the UTXO set, they increased it by default. Like,
and there's nothing saying that they will use this going forward. And
they will,
and nothing happens in a vacuum, right? If you encourage these people by saying we will change Bitcoin, all you need, like, what's the saying? Like, you don't negotiate with terrorists. You know why? Because if you do, that encourages more terrorism, right? Rich people have a thing of like, we will never pay a ransom, because if terrorists know you pay the ransom, they will come after you and your family more because they know you're willing to pay.
Yeah, okay? I don't agree with that analogy.
No, Citria are terrorists, and we're creating more terrorists because we accommodated them. I think it's a good.
I don't think we're accommodating them by giving them a better place to put the data rather than fake pub keys.
Anyway, we're tacitly
yes, bad actors do exist, of course. This thing. I also don't want to try and be a gaslighter or say it's not a big deal. Of course, it's a big deal. Obviously, we're talking about this for a reason. I'm just reading these comments real quick. Obviously, it is a big deal because there's been a bajillion podcasts about this or about this subject. So for sure, it's a big deal to some people, and I don't want to discredit them 100%. Also, someone was commenting on my sweater. I
wanted to
my Naka sweater, and this I actually got it for the conference, and I wanted to wear it on stage with all those other Bitcoin Treasury guys, but I didn't get to. So this is why I'm wearing it. It is a meme. It is a joke. I do not own any Treasury companies, nor do I endorse any Treasury companies. It is a get up. Okay, this is why I have Dr. Pepper as well, right? It's more of for fun. Okay,
you should have worn your turtleneck again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to have fun here. I'm not trying to endorse a specific company. Just so we're all clear on that one.
I like the Deeves jobs.
Deeves jobs. Exactly. Yeah. Eric seems like an interesting guy in the comments. I happily answer any of his questions. There's things that I don't agree with because they are subjective. I don't think everything Praveen is saying is facts based in reality. Just like he can also say that I'm not saying.
I haven't said anything that was false.
And I don't think I have also said anything that is false. So I mean, like, we can argue about that all day.
No, you haven't. You just dismiss stuff as not being different enough.
No, it's not true, because I asked you a valid question about where you'd prefer people to put their proofs, and you said, I'm not going to answer that. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
So
no,
you don't want to have a conversation either.
I told you don't negotiate with terrorists. Okay, that's my answer.
Gentlemen.
Len, hold on. The reason this all came because I was talking about the risk, right?
Yeah.
So it depends how big you think the risk is. Because if you think the risk of like something getting into the Bitcoin blockchain, as like this, what we were talking about in this opportunity is big enough that then the fork starts making more sense. Maybe not this, and I'm not saying I'm for exactly everything that's in this. I'm just saying just a general, because like I'm usually against forks, right? But the general idea of a fork to limit this shit to me makes sense because I believe that the risk is high.
Yeah,
And that-
if there's people out there, and I've already read some comments that people shut off their nodes and people are thinking about shutting off their nodes. There's obviously people are concerned about what may happen and what the authorities may believe what they have on their computer, and it could cause them issues moving forward. So yeah, that's definitely a cause for concern for some people. For me, not yet. It may change I may change my mind moving forward, but I'm going to continually run my node at least for now. But I have every right to change my mind moving forward.
I think we all do, Len. And obviously, these are just our opinions. None of us really matter in the grand scheme of things. Of course, yes. So we all have a little. We matter a little, but I like these conversations are more for us and to hash things out because obviously text wasn't working. So hopefully we got somewhere. I don't think that.
Bitcoin all caps says he's no longer running Bitcoin.
So
Yeah,
see, that's
there you go.
one
Yeah.
that I was kind of referencing. Let's, without getting too specific here, that's an example of somebody that is very hardcore into Bitcoin. He loves it. His fucking handle is Bitcoin on YouTube, and he's not running it. So that people should take that and process that data. Why isn't he running it? And
he thinks he's for the legal stuff. Like he thinks
he's not an idiot.
Unless
like,
I'm misinterpreting.
He's not an idiot like all the core supporters like to paint. They like to paint all the knots people as technically retarded. They don't know what they're talking about.
Technically retarded.
Okay, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying Twitter in general, right? That's what they like. Technically stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. They've just got up into a tizzy because they listen to Mechanic too much. Like these are all the things I'm hearing, right? But we know Bitcoin all caps. He's a smart guy. He's been in Bitcoin probably longer than all of us. If he's thinking of not running a node, and I know other people are making purchasing decisions, maybe not directly selling Bitcoin right now, but before I was thinking of hodling for a lot longer before I buy a house. Maybe I buy a house a little earlier now, right? Maybe I diversify, whatever. Like these are conversations that are happening, and it's not being happening. It's not stupid people, right? This is one thing that pisses me off with the devs on the other side. They get all high up and mighty on their freaking horse because they know how to code a little bit, and they look down at all the plebs because they're like, oh, you don't even understand how Bitcoin works, right? That's bullshit, right? There's smart people on both sides, and it's bullshit to try and pretend like, oh, like only people thinking of leaving Bitcoin or not running their nodes are either idiots or have no Bitcoin or don't matter at all.
Here's one risk, and I talked about it last week with Gnome. And if you look at the prospectus of the Bitcoin ETFs in the United States, it mentions that they have the right to choose which version of Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and that's what's going to be that's included in their ETF. So if there ever is a chain split, a hard fork, something along those lines where you have now a secondary coin, they're going to have to decide which coin is going to be included in their ETF. That could be an interesting scenario that plays out. I'm not saying this is a likely scenario, but if it is in the realm of possibility of something that could happen, and man, this could wreck a lot of people in the end. I'd like to hear, are you familiar at all whatsoever what this discussion is all about?
I mean, it makes sense. Like everybody's gonna have to decide. Like if there is a fork that like survive, if there's two forks that survive, they're gonna have to decide. I mean, we can get into the technicals a bit, but like a soft fork that's a strict subset of the current rules means it has a little bit of a structural advantage during a fork, right? Because if Len, let me know if this makes sense. But basically, let's say we have Bitcoin, Bitcoin A, this is like current Bitcoin, and Bitcoin B, which is like the fork, right? Everything Bitcoin B makes, every block will be valid to both Bitcoin A and B. but the converse is not true, right? Bitcoin B, all the blocks it makes will be valid to itself, obviously. But if Bitcoin A starts making blocks that are more than 83 bytes, those won't be valid, right? So even if Bitcoin B manages to survive even a little bit, right, and it's not the longest chain, there is a possibility at some point it can overtake the chain, and then everybody running Bitcoin A without doing anything, even if they're running Bitcoin 0.12, right, will recognize the Bitcoin B chain as the longest chain, right? So because of that, I think if there's a fork and there's even a little bit of support, there is an incentive for the other miners to capitulate because they don't want to get stuck on a chain that can get orphaned.
Wouldn't it be the opposite way around, because they would be the mining hash that fork would have is smaller than the other, and if there was any opportune that was greater than 83 bytes, that chain over there would not recognize it, and then they'd have to throw away that block, orphan it, build on something else. But they don't have enough hash to continue that chain longer than the 90% of the hash or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm saying if the two chains both proceed, right? If they proceed, I guess the risk for the Bitcoin A people mining on it is that if things change in the future, right? If more miners come on, there is an opportunity for Bitcoin B to overtake it, right? And because if it overtakes it, all of Bitcoin A's nodes will just think Bitcoin B is the chain. They will call that Bitcoin, but the converse is not true, right? So basically, that's what Luke was saying about like the Bitcoin A would need to counter fork to reject the Bitcoin B's stuff.
The existing nodes would still validate those because they're stricter. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I can't get into the weeds on that too much. It's probably outside my scope, so I wouldn't want to say something that was incorrect. So
Yeah, we don't know how they're going to deal with the replay, so Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I really hope they don't do that. It would be nice if everyone just runs their own policy and stays within consensus.
Yeah. Also, there's not going to be any replay protections because that's more of a hard fork thing, right? There's that concept doesn't really exist because for a protection that you would need to basically they would need to fork in the other side, right? Then there would be a US RF and a US whatever rejected and accepted USAF chains. There would be two forks, not just like one old one and one new one.
Yeah, I just struggle to see how they would get enough hash rate to make that even viable. Just because 20% of nodes run knots does not mean that 20% of miners will go with that fork, right? You'd have to convince a lot of miners to get on board. I just don't see that happening.
All depends on incentives.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Like if the miners are people too, right?
Of course.
Yeah. If there's one out there that is trying to push for no CSAM on their nodes, and miners, especially ones that are publicly traded, may want to opt to deal with that one, follow that one, because let's be honest, the optics of dealing with the United States government, dealing with shareholders, it makes sense. That I'm just not saying this is a likelihood. It's just something that needs to consider.
Labeling it as like CSAM versus non-CSAM chain, I don't think that's valid.
And they would have to explain to the regulators and everybody, the shareholders, why they decided to keep mining on the CSAM chain when this fork existed.
So Eric makes a good point. This is the miners don't have to store the data, but them being complicit to a particular.
But they are the ones putting it in. I think that's even worse, right?
So there's a lot that it's really unknown at this point. But it's a lot of fun to discuss.
Yeah,
guys.
I think I just think there's a lot of advantages to the fork that people are not thinking about, like because it is. Assuming it's a simple one, low risk, like everybody can agree it's low risk because this is how Bitcoin has been. It lowers the risk of miners to legal threats and lowers the risk for node runners. So I think it even if you don't think it's a big risk, you can agree that it's lowering the risk, right? I think the fork has a lot of advantages that people are just forgetting about, right? A lot of reasons that why even miners might end up considering it.
For sure.
Guys,
just a few comments at the end here. I know
Yeah,
we're
go
gonna
nuts.
wrap up. I do believe nodes matter. Obviously, there is a push towards knots, and if there was people like running a node and running knots is kind of saying, hey, I don't agree with what's going on in core. I'm going to run a different client. So clearly, there is some pull there. Like you're not voting, but you're saying, hey, I disagree with what's happening in core right now. I'm going to run a different client. So I think nodes do matter. I'm not saying that they do not. I would never say that. I don't know if core is disenfranchising node runners. Yes, there's maybe something you don't agree with, so then you go over to knots. Yeah, I mean, it was a good discussion. Obviously, these are my own thoughts. This has nothing to do with the company I work for. I was convinced by Praveen to even hop on here. I declined it first. I said, you know what, I don't really want this drama. I'm not a fan. I prefer to stay out of it and just talk in our chat. But I think it was productive. So that's always good. And I hope I didn't gaslight too much or lie too much or whatever. I'm just trying to share the things that I have heard and researched. I think at the end of the day, this BIP-444 isn't a good idea in my opinion. I think the contiguous stuff, I don't think it's a big enough legal or moral issue. I think you can still stuff 4 megabytes worth of data already. So stuffing 1 megabyte isn't really a huge difference in my opinion. Might be different in your opinion. I think the legal political stuff, it's really tough. I don't think we should be forking based on what is and is illegal. I also think that these places to put data are intentional and they serve a function and they reduce harm to Bitcoin, and they can also be used as money. Bitcoin is money. If you want to price the spammers out, use Bitcoin as money, and we will have no problems. The block size and fees are the ultimate filter. But there are other filters, and you can run those, and it's your node. So you do what you want, and thanks for having me on.
I appreciate having both of you guys on. I just before we sign off, I just want to make sure, in case people want to reach out to you, they listen to you. This was supposed to be an hour. We went an hour and a half and change.
Oh yeah.
I thank you for doing this, guys. I just want to make sure if they agree or disagree with you and want to reach out and talk to you individually. So I'll start with you, Praveen. Where could they reach you, and also pump your project before you head it up?
Oh wait, D got a final thing.
Oh no, that's right. Go ahead.
Right?
No, you're not allowed.
Thank you. Yeah, no, go right ahead.
I want mine too. Okay, first of all, to the developers and core lovers out there, you guys need to stop being so goddamn arrogant, right? The people on the not side aren't idiots. They're Bitcoiners. They're smart. They got their sure. There's idiots on both sides, but get off your high horse. Stop sniffing your own farts. Just fucking listen, okay? Not everyone's an idiot. So because they're super fucking annoying.
We agree there.
Super fucking annoying with that shit.
Sure.
Just have an honest debate, right? I don't want to win. I want everyone to come to a consensus, a nice consensus soft fork that has good consensus going forward. Will be. I think Bitcoin will be stronger with a soft fork than without it, because I think right now a lot of people recognize that devs are one of the last centralized risks we have left, and if we can do a fork to undo some of the stuff that the devs have done, I think that's a bullish signal that shows that the Bitcoin community is strong, that we can make changes to Bitcoin when needed to protect Bitcoin. People say Bitcoin is anti-fragile. It's you can't hurt it, but that's not a magical concept. It doesn't just happen, right? It happens because when someone tries to fuck with it, like Core did, we as Bitcoiners are able to react, and it's anti-fragile because Bitcoin has an immune system. This soft fork represents that immune system. So if you think Bitcoin is resilient, this is how it is resilient, because we can do things like this. Other than that, take a look for yourself. It is illegal, but it's a moral. There's some subjectivity to it. Look at the arguments. How different do you think op returns are to inscriptions? Do you think that there's a moral risk? Why are people turning off their Bitcoin nodes, right? Are they idiots? What is the downside of forking? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. And don't do the COVID thing. Don't give your authority to other people just because they're devs or they've been in Bitcoin a long time. These are not super hard concepts to understand, right? You're smart. I believe in you. Go look it up. Make your own mind. Make up your own mind. Don't listen to these people that talk down to you. You don't need to know how to read C++ code to understand what the hell's going on, right? This is your money. This is your life saving. You owe it to yourself to understand what the fuck is going on. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not going to reiterate all the stuff I said about why I think Opportune is different, but it's true. To me, it is different, and I mean, maybe we can put together a document. I can show you the legal precedent stuff I've talked about it,
Sure.
but it's
Yeah,
not
I'd
just
love to.
legal
Yeah.
precedent. It is a moral question. It's a practical question. Don't listen to people that say that, this is always possible. Like we've established why it's different, and then even like the arguments about like, oh, they need this to scale. Like there's nothing showing that like Citria or anybody else is actually helping Bitcoin scale, right? Nobody showed that. That's not a foregone conclusion. It's not like, oh, if we limit this, scaling becomes harder. That's not true, right? If anything, CTV maybe makes scaling a little bit better, but again, we don't even know how much that is. So a lot of these are hypotheticals on hypotheticals to say let's not fork. I don't understand that. I think the risk of soft fork to return Bitcoin to what it has been like since the beginning is a much lower risk than not doing it. And the earlier we can do it, the better, because if this stuff gets on, it gets real. We're gonna find out if the people screaming chicken whatever were right, or if this like we're gonna find out real quick, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think any of us condone any of that stuff on chain.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm not saying we do. I'm saying it gets real, right?
for sure.
Like
Now, Praveen, just because I just want to make sure I don't want to keep you guys here forever. I would.
I got
would
time.
like to. Guys,
Come on, Len. 2-hour special.
You want to make it to no, Praveen? I'm gonna hand the baton to you. If people want to reach out to you for whatever reason, they like what you heard, didn't like what you hear, where could they reach you? And also pump your project before we pass it off to D.
yeah, so I'm on Twitter, Praveen Perera. I'm on Noster. Place a bit of an echo chamber, but I like it. I like that it's there in case Twitter goes to shit, but I'm mostly on Twitter. Yeah, Cove is great. It's been the wallet I've been working on for a year and a bit now. iOS app came out a few months ago. Now I've been focusing on Android. That's almost done and ready for testing, so I'll have a private test group. Len, I think you have an Android, right? So I'm hoping you'll help me test it out. And once that's done, I'm going to get back to some of the features that I've been wanting to add, and then those will be added to iOS and Android going forward together.
Spell Perera because they're asking how do you spell Praveen
Yeah.
Perera?
Perera.
Beauty. D. Now, if people want to reach out to you, they like what they listen. They don't
I
like
hope
what they
so.
listen. They want.
Please don't give me any death threats. That'd be great. I really hope I do not get too many. I changed my name.
There's no point in killing D because he doesn't control anything.
Thank you.
So don't threaten him.
HodlDee, right there. If I'm pointing at it right, that's me on Twitter. I work for CoinKite. We're a hardware wallet company. And again, everything on here is just my own thoughts. It's not a reflection of the company or anything like that. Heck yeah, we got MK4 right there. And yeah, we sell things like the MK4Q, block clock, tap signer, Sats cards, a lot of things Bitcoin related. We are a Bitcoin only company. I hope I didn't come off as too much of a scammer, spammer, ordinals enthusiast. You know, I'm not here to talk about that stuff. I'm just here to share my perspective. And yeah, everyone's got a little bit of a different viewpoint. So I'm sure we can maybe get back on here when consensus soft fork has been activated, or who knows? Yeah, I have a publicly. Obviously, we're not doing any sats, but I believe that no soft fork will happen. I don't know. Praveen hasn't decided yet because it obviously hasn't been, everything hasn't been put into place. But once the BIP is live and the code is there and we agree, we can make a gentleman's bet on whether it is successful or not. I personally do not believe it will be successful, and we don't have to put any stats on the line. But if you believe it's successful and it is, then you can beat the shit out of me or something. I don't know. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
Appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, D, I'm just gonna double what you said. Like, if I think anybody that's on my side disagrees with D, like, let's not pull that cancel culture shit and like try to like it. That's his opinion. He's obviously wrong, and we agree. But like,
Sure.
he has the right to be wrong. He's not the one pushing this shit on core. And I can say, D, I haven't seen you trying to talk down to people on my side and pretend that they're idiots or anything like that. So
Sure.
at least I appreciate that.
Everyone can run whatever client implementation that they want. Go nuts. Your policy, data carrier size can be whatever you want it to be. So, fight for what you believe what Bitcoin is. And I'm not going to shit on someone for disagreeing with me.
I love it. In the end, I think there's one consensus that we could all agree on. There's only one retard on this show, and that's me. So with that, gentlemen, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks,
All
man.
right, thanks for having
care,
us, man. All right, later.
Cheers.